Hello there, this is Bic Benedict. We're playing Resident Evil 4 on professional difficulty. This is my no damage guide. We are on chapter 5-2 and it's an approximately 16-minute video in length, and in the previous chapter I was alluding to a story that I wanted to share at the beginning of this video. If I can actually form the words to talk, because my mouth is quite dry. Is a pretty darn hot night. So anyway, I did allude to the fact that about 10 years ago, my brother and I watched The Exorcist by William Friedkin, and I'm not sure if I read the book and then was prompted to watch the movie, or if after watching the movie I picked up the book and read it. I don't remember. It was over a decade ago, let's just put it that way. And my brother and I, anyway, just to preface this, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because it reveals the genesis of my philosophy about how I commentate YouTube videos. So that's the reason I'm mentioning it. So it does have a point and a purpose to this reveal that's coming up. And anyway, one of my younger brothers, he and I watched The Exorcist, and I think we rented it from Netflix or something, or got it from Blockbuster most probably. But he and I watched the movie, and we were very impressed. It was a great movie. We were horrified in a lot of other parts. And then we realized that the DVD had one of those director's commentaries on it. And after watching the movie the first time, we had a lot of questions about, what did this mean? What did that mean? What were the pills that the priest was taking, for his bad heart? They turned out to be glycerin pills. And the only reason we found that out was because we put the commentary track on so that we could listen to it while watching the movie. And I believe it was the director himself narrating the backstory to The Exorcist, and it was an incredible experience because of the fact that while the movie was playing, he was talking about the things that were occurring on screen. He was explaining things, he was clarifying things, he was adding information about the story, the motivations behind the characters. And it wasn't like other commentaries where the director gives out a lot of information about like the production and how things were, and dumb anecdotes that I don't personally care about. But when I was listening to the director talk about his movie, it was really eye-opening, because you could just sit back and listen to it, and the guy, like any scene that you wanted some explanation about, as far as what does this mean, it was given to you by the director in his explanation. And it was really incredible because, like I said, my brother and I had a lot of questions, and nothing went unanswered that we were seeking for when we were listening to that director's commentary. In fact, it was just a knowledge dump of information. It was just so much information that we just stepped back and said, wow. Like we thought we wanted to know the answers, but we got all our answers, and we learned a great deal about the movie. And I wanted to say that story just because it's just of paramount importance when you're doing a guide to talk about what's happening on the screen. Just like that director of the movie, he was talking about the things that were happening on the screen. It might not have been 100% of the time, but if I remember correctly, it was about 90% of the time, maybe 95. I mean, it was always about the movie and what was happening on the screen, So I just recently remembered that little story. I mean, I never forgot it, obviously, but I remembered it, and that's the philosophy that's been behind all my projects. What's happening on the screen is what is under discussion. So I thought I would share that. Now this part over here, there's a very bad checkpoint over here. There are 3 enemies. What you want to do is dispatch these enemies, go back to the door you used to come into this room, and save your progress, because it's a checkpoint door. So create a checkpoint for yourself, because the next room is heavily dependent on luck and the variables of enemies grabbing Ashley and seeking her out, even though you can keep her up here. So what I would recommend is what I'm going to show you right over here. Before you get into the room, just keep her up here. Now, if the enemies decide to pull her down from there, they will. So what I'm going to do is spawn this group. See, he was even going for her right there. That guy, if you saw the guy with the baton a moment ago. And I don't know if the enemies ever stop spawning here, but it's one of those things where this room took me so many tries that I didn't really want to find out if there were infinitely spawning enemies. It seems like the kind of conceit that would, you know, lean more towards that of the enemies just don't stop spawning. And if they do stop spawning, it's probably designed in such a way where they're just going to keep spawning until the sequences stop occurring here, like the ball and chain. You have to keep using this mechanism. However, there has to be a time allowed for it to reset. So what I would do is just man this area. You have the choice of having Ashley in here pulling the lever, but I don't know how proficient she is at doing it. So what I would do is do a heavy assault of grenades and keep checking with the lever. You know, keep going to it, keep pulling it, and use these flash grenades so that everybody is completely blinded. And it looks like we can operate it, and then go back and call Ashley over to you. So we can't see. I attempted to go through the door right there, but it's just not letting me. So I'm doing a few bold shotguns in here, shotgun rounds, and then when you get in here, I think they give you a checkpoint. I can't imagine them not giving you a checkpoint there. I don't remember if that was a green lettered door, and I think it was. As you can see, we have a regenerator here. We'll have another one coming up down the hall, and they do give you a checkpoint over here. I double checked it. So I will be putting all of this in fast forward. One of the gripes that I have, aside from channels that don't do commentary, is any kind of guide that would not put this in fast forward, because it's just, it takes that extra individual who really values quality and is really taking into consideration the time factor of the person watching, and not wanting to waste that guy's time. Like, the main thing that I do when I make these guides is I think to myself, are the things that I'm putting in this guide, are they going to waste the player's time? And I think that you can have that mentality come through in your guide, and also be very thorough at the same time. I can tell you to loot things, but I don't have to show you every nook and cranny where everything is, because I can tell you where the most important things are just in the audio commentary. And most of the time, all the secret items are things that you're going to want to find for yourself. And if you really are not wanting to miss anything, there are item guides all over the internet that tell you where everything is. So anyway, we did it. And this is the sequence that concludes this chapter. I missed one of the boxes over there, but Ashley's gonna get up here, and they do give you one checkpoint over here. Actually, they give you 2 checkpoints, and I will tell you where those 2 checkpoints are. Now, this first section is not too bad at all. The Striker is actually quite helpful over here. I don't like the fire rate of the Striker, to be honest, because it's not as fast as the riot gun. It's not a lot slower, but anyway, this first section here, it's very simple. Just, you know, when they attack the truck and try to jump up, all you do is shoot them, and this is the best gun hands down, because it just propels them backwards, and they jump clear off. I mean, they fall clear off. And I was actually surprised at the decency and the number of checkpoints over here. But this kind of reminds me of the drill section in Dead Space 2 that I just released that particular video. And I don't know which one's harder. But this is nothing. I mean, this is extremely simple. But when this thing comes, what you want to do is just, I would shoot like the area where the radiator is, in the trunk, not the trunk, but the what's it called? I'm dead tired, but I'm trying to do this, and I want to get these finished. So there it comes. When it comes again, just make sure you fire enough at it, and then over here we'll get a checkpoint. I'm wondering if I experienced any issues over here. I recall that I did, but I quickly figured out like the best way to deal with this. So when you jump down here, you will have secured yourself a checkpoint. So after you ascend the ladder over here, you could shoot a few guys, and then you are permitted to get back in the truck. So what you do, I'm going to use the iframes over here to just go through this guy and jump right up here. See, they're going to attack Ashley, and if they hit her, the sequence ends, and you have to start back in this room at the beginning. But I thought to myself, can I just jump back up here? And lo and behold, they let you. So what you want to do is stand as far away from these enemies as possible, because as you saw a moment ago, one of them jumped onto the truck bed. And you know, there may be one or two enemies, you know, in that kind of frozen, unaggroed state around here, but generally speaking, it worked out pretty well. One final guy to take care of, and then what we have to do is open the gate, or excuse me, open the lift, activate the lift. And then I think the hardest section is the one that's coming up, because even though they give you a checkpoint, the checkpoint placement, excuse me, I think this is the worst commentary I've ever done. I'm sorry about that, you guys, but the placement of the checkpoint is very poor, because what you have to do is ascend the lift every time, and it takes a long time. And if you die in the next section or get hit at all, you're back. They save it after this sequence, fortunately, but it would have been nice to have had that checkpoint after the truck ascends the lift. So it's actually right there in that small edit right there. That's the checkpoint. So the hardest thing about this section is simply the fact that the enemies are going to be dropping on you this time, rather than, yeah, I got pretty tempted to shoot her, but instead of enemies just running towards the truck like they did in the first wave, they're going to be enemies above on those walkways. So the unfortunate thing is, you're going to have enemies running at the truck, and you're also going to have enemies just literally dropping in on you. And I think the Striker is the best bet here, because it has the widest blast radius, covers the most width. Anyway, those two guys come out there, and it's the guys in the red jackets. Those are the problems. See, they fall right on you, and all of my mistakes over here were due to those guys. And a lot of the La Plagas will manifest right out of the heads of these guys. So it's one of those issues too, and you just don't have. See, the problem is without a sensitivity setting, it's extremely hard to get on these guys as fast as you need to. But you know, the flash grenade that I just did right there worked pretty well. But just remember that you are going to have to take out this truck. So just shoot the grill, and it's a concluded section. So even though it's pretty difficult with the guys dropping in on you, it is brief. So you have to give it a little bit of credit for that. And then we'll be in this neutral zone. Make sure you pick up all the treasures over here, especially the one in the attaché case, because it goes in the golden links, the Greenstone of Judgment. We'll get the next one in the final one in the next chapter. That just shows you how tired I am. Take care.